Hey, it is your buddy Peace and Harmony with you here today. We're zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth in terms of understanding the influence that a narcissist or a psychopath has had on your life, particularly in how you evaluate and think your self-talk as well as your behavioral patterns. And oftentimes how this leads to restriction, stifling, or what is known in the psychological community as self-limiting beliefs. These restrictions of one's movements, the restrictions of one's feelings, your emotional body, the rigidity of thought patterns, behavioral patterns, and even what I'm going to call feeling patterns in your life. And the situation with the rigidity is really your worst enemy in the situation if you are trying to move beyond, heal beyond, or understand and kind of work through the feelings of a narcissistic, malignant, narcissistic, or psychopathic abusive relationship. And before we get started on that topic, I want to give a huge shout out to those of you who have recently made a donation to the Peace and Harmony channel here, especially viewers in the UK, Great Britain. I want to give you a huge thank you for your we have a wonderful viewer in the UK who has made a generous donation to the channel, and your feedback and input and your comments and your experience is so very valuable and important to me, and your donations really give me that solidity, knowing that I'm providing content that is reaching you and helping to make a difference in your life. And I just want to reaffirm and emphasize, thank you so much. I have so much gratitude for your actions, your positive actions there. It really helps us connect and keep the channel alive. And furthermore, if there are other viewers, either in the US or across seas, who I've been, who the content here has been help you to change your life or see things in more clear perspective and have assisted you to really kind of take that next step, please feel free to donate here to the channel. There's a donate button through PayPal on the homepage, so you can definitely donate. It's very much appreciated. So furthermore, I want to get really focused in and zoom in here on the influence of sort of self-limiting beliefs or restriction. We've covered a lot about, narcissist, malignant narcissist and psychopathic behavior, or these individuals and how they make a negative influence on one's life. In other words, it's the boundary violation where basically their behaviors and their thought patterns cause you to over-idealize them or make them more important or really more controlling in your life. And unbeknownst to you, this happens very quickly through the love bombing stage, where the foundation is set up in the relationship, where all of a sudden they and their perspective of life becomes more important than your perspective or your influence on life. We have the hierarchy once again, where they have asserted themselves, or through rigid assertion have made their presence or their opinion, their feeling more important in life than yours. And it's very different because, in the beginning of the relationship, oftentimes in the love bombing, there's this idealization phase where this person is the love of your life. They make you feel good. They make you happy. They might take you places. They might have a certain charm or a certain demeanor that you feel is amazing. And so then you begin to overly attach or over-idealize this person. And unbeknownst to you, oftentimes through the things that they say and the way that they treat you, you feel kind of a step behind, less than. And they might have some criticism of you, where maybe they'd been a positive influence in your life, where they'd helped you change some things. But then it also becomes to a point where then they criticize you and belittle you. And this becomes further into the relationship where, you have, allowed them this space to be able to criticize you, and you begin to kind of throw down your armor, so to speak, and let them in, and you then begin to take their control at face value, and you begin to live and react according to pleasing them, according to their perspective, and it becomes very, very rigid. It becomes, a very much like a do or die situation, where then they restrict your movements and your beliefs. In other words, a lot of it can be, and it can be set up through very critical sort of statements where you can't do things correctly. So they'll make wild assertions that you can't do things, positively. You don't know how to make a cup of coffee. You don't know how to, you can't follow up on these talents. You can't do this and this in your life. We don't have the means. We're not these kind of people. We're not living on the right side of the tracks. These all basically become ways to push you down and repress you and keep you stifled. And a lot of people then, go along with it because they oftentimes get stuck. And it seems like we have a lot of viewers who are in the situation where they can't really move beyond the situation with this person. And I want to just have a little bit of notes here for our for our session. And it's very important because there's a misbelief that gets set up, and there's a real difference between having someone guiding you in your life and giving you positive encouragement, nurturing, and support versus control. Control is very different because they're trying to tell you what to do, and that there's a lack of empowerment. In other words, it's to please them, not to really sort of own it yourself, have it yourself, and make these decisions and kind of live along your values. It's very much an outer locus of control experience, and then you become feeling like you have to or else sort of feeling. And you then begin to kind of live in this shell where you then become separated from your authentic empowerment, which is very different for you to understand and look at the difference between a controlling individual and a guiding, because guiding is more nurturing, supporting, loving. They understand that there are mistakes. Of course, to be human is to make mistakes. So, that's a foundation through every person. And if they're trying to create the facade that they're perfect, they don't make mistakes, or they don't want to go there, they don't want to open up that vulnerability, then you're really in for a tough road with this person, because they're always going to have that narcissistic or sociopathic superior superior shell. And it's these statements that you can look at because these really set up very rigid self-limiting beliefs in you. And you can really kind of get into this when you are kind of confide in yourself and in the recesses of your being, where you're really rigorously honest with yourself. You can see how this is restrictive in your life, and then becomes what I would call the I would but moments. In other words, I would have quiet time for myself, but I would like to start up this business, but I would like to travel. I would like to have friends. I would like to open up my free time, but these are then become really nothing but excuses in one's life. And the narcissist or psychopath will really create this vulnerability where they don't allow you to live from that authentic space, because again, this would be empowering to you, which is threatening to them. So there's a very direct correlation. And I think it's very important for you to get into more of this state of allowing, which the narcissist or the psychopath would not let you, or because of the fear-based, you're so removed from it. And really move into the state of allowing and the I am and the I have, because they're not, they're overpowering, they're over controlling, they're overshadowing their domination in your life, which doesn't allow you to exist, be, have, and become. If you'll see this, it can be very specific. In other words, they're very, the controlling narcissist, the pathological lying psychopath, they are very much into controlling your perception, so that you will follow and basically toggle into their order for life, living along their perception of how you should live your life, rather than how you direct and control your life. They don't allow you to get into that space within yourself. So that's why I feel it's so important for you to have the recovery journal, and the recovery date in your life, where you basically plug in at least 2 hours for yourself to really have that quiet time and follow up on these authentic kind of impulses in your life that are trying to get your attention to do, be, and have, and become, and feel but because either you're healing through a relationship with this person or you're still in a relationship with this person, you are restricted from. You are in a rigid belief pattern that you can't, you won't, you never will. This is false self-limiting belief thought patterns and feeling patterns. So, it's living life on their terms versus living life on your terms. So it's the having to format your life according to how they think you should be rather than how you feel really in your really heart-centered. So your relationship becomes very much caught up in the head, analyzing, trying to analyze and judge and really it's very, very difficult space. And I'm going to get more into this in future videos today. But and I really I'm going to also get into the understanding that you need to plug this into your calendar. You need to get a calendar, you need to really get an appointment book. People who, have jobs, they may or may not have something like this. Get an appointment book, even if it's a journal, but something with, dates, like this that you can write in. And, I definitely want you to write in not only your to-do list that we're talking about, to have list, your want list, but I want you also to write in your to-be list. So for example, you might have a goal to feel safe, or to feel gratitude, or to feel happy, or to feel confident. So let's say your goal is, to feel confident and not controlled. I want you to plug into your calendar, and I want you to write feeling confident. Feel confident. July 25th, feel confident. Write this in your future calendar. You will be amazed how this resets your mind and your feeling and your emotional body. Just to know that you have plugged this into your calendar. Feel confident. You can write this in once a week. You can write this in twice a week. You can write it into your future. Write it down into your calendar. If you want to get a 2018 calendar and start writing this down, you'll be amazed at how this resets your feeling body to actually fulfill those goals that you write down. But you have to write it down. If you don't have a pen and paper, you need to get a pen and paper. You need to scrounge up the pennies and get it together and write this down for yourself. And I want you, yours might be feel safe. So then you would write down feel safe. You can write down 2, you can write down 3. I would say limit it to 3 in the beginning until you actually are unconsciously there. And then you have these feelings throughout your day, throughout your week, throughout your life. And I just scribbled it in, feel safe. So you might, that might be where you're at right now. Just to feel safe would be a whole new level of living. And, then you can go to feel creative, feel prosperous, employed. You can write your goals out that way. To have a network of friends that are more positive for you. You need to get a appointment book. Even if you don't have doctor's appointments, your work schedule, you might have an itinerary for a travel, but see how powerful this can be and plug this in, and you will see how your body, your mind, and your spirit will automatically and effortlessly respond to that, because the mind is driven to find solutions. It's understanding that this is how it works, and your mind and your body will automatically be reset. Once you write this down and you see it in front of you, your body will begin to reset according to neuroplasticity, which means the mind's ability to forge new connections and create new emotions, new neurotransmitters, and really neurogenesis, which is the development and the growing of new neurons, which then go and then create this in your life. And then you'll begin to think along the solution, and you'll find yourself wanting to do new things, thinking of new solutions, making changes in your life, which further, you might have been blocked for years you haven't been able to move or change up in your life, and then all of a sudden your energy is liberated and you're okay with it. You're entering that permission space. Is peace and harmony with you here today? I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.